We're just going to switch gears a little bit. You're going to China today. Dom's going to China today at 3 o'clock. What are we to take from what happened last week in the markets? Talk to us about the market malfunction, but also the economy story, which is they're not the same. Should we be worried about either one?
I just preface it by saying, again, I'm a bull on China, which maybe, again, as I said, I've probably drank the Kool-Aid there for too long. So that's my, and I'll tell you why I feel that way. But that said, I think what we're seeing with the markets, first of all, I'd look at the markets not as a regular market as we see it. It's a casino. I mean, it's mainly retail investors that are going. If you ever see a picture, if you ever go to there's actually in Shanghai, it's amazing to see people sitting around. It's almost like going to a cinema, and people are betting, and so it's not a very, it's not an institutionally driven market, and so that's another factor, and it's been moving up and down. Someone actually said that now, and I don't want to predict that valuations are now getting reasonable. Because if you recall, last June, it had just been through a massive boom. I think it had been up 180%. So you have, first of all, that market it's an indicator, but I think it's not a very good indicator because it's a casino, it's retail players. It's also been, unfortunately, I think, badly managed. I think this is an area what's been a bit surprising to me is you've got an amazing central banker, you've got an amazing finance. It's a deep technocratic group, but in the markets, it's bad. It's not being done well. I mean, there's no way other way of getting around that to say it. It's just, and I think that's where there's an opportunity to learn. I think what it's going to lead to is much more interest on China's part in having the big institutional players coming in to the place. State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock. They need it because we got to institutionalize the market more. So I think it's going to actually spur change. So that's my view is I wouldn't look at what's happening in the market there as an indicator of the strength or weakness of the Chinese economy. What I would look at more is what's happening in the private sector in China. We don't talk a lot about that. The Chinese private sector, and I don't want to say it's for every sector because it does vary in some areas. Steel is a disaster, there's overcapacity and so forth. But if you look at services, if in financial services, retail, consumer, it's booming. It's booming. I don't know how to describe it in terms of the numerics, but if you look at some of the fastest growing companies on the planet today are these, and they're mainly Chinese privately owned services and consumer goods companies that are there. The SOE sector is a different one, and that's I think the anti-corrupt state-owned enterprises that sector is in difficulty. There is a lot of restructuring that's required, and I think this anti-corruption drive, which is it's a very good thing to do, it has led to a freezing of change in the SOEs because SOE CEOs and chairpersons are afraid to make restructuring because it's a bit like the old Red Guard. If I see David Hunt, he's running an SOE and I don't like the restructuring he's doing, I can just send a letter in to Wang Shishang, who's the head of he's on the standing committee, and say, I saw David had this amazing bottle of wine with some people. I don't really know what he's up to, but you might want to check it out. And then he gets an investigation. He gets a 100-questionnaire thing, which has some very deeply personal questions too on it, and you cannot lie on those. And so it's almost like it's not what you're accused of; it's what you say. Where a lot of people are being picked up, so people are not doing restructuring. They're nervous about being called on, and they also cap the compensation of these SOE leaders, right? The ratio, I think, cannot be more than 6 to 1. I may not have it exactly right. So it's people are going, why am I going to? So that the SOE sector is frozen, and that's a worry because it needs restructuring. Private sector is booming, infrastructure is moving on, and again, my fundamental view is I look at China is 54% urbanized. It's every year we're seeing 25 million people move from rural areas to cities. That's what's growing the middle class that's there. It's very much in the interior. and there's the opportunity, and we see again the private people doing it. I don't think growth will be 8%. My own sense is growth is somewhere between 6 to 6.5%, but I think it's real. It's just going to be, it's a different type of growth. It's more, again, consumer services as opposed to the manufacturing. Does that?
Yeah, great. So I think we'd like